If you made $1 million today and walked straight into Hermès to buy a Birkin handbag, you'd walk out empty-handed, not because you couldn't afford it, because they wouldn't sell it to you. Hermès turns away rich, willing customers all the time, and that habit of saying no is a big reason it's become one of the most valuable luxury brands on the planet, pulling in around $15 billion a year. Every other shop on earth is bending over backwards to make it easier for you to spend money, and Hermès is doing the opposite. Why does this work so well? Well, we have to understand how Hermès started. And it didn't start as a fashion label at all. It started in Paris in 1837 making saddles and harnesses for horses. For decades, it was a leather workshop making riding gear for wealthy people who rode, and everything was done slowly, by hand, to a ridiculous standard. Hermès never really caught the urge to get big fast the way most companies do. It just wanted to be the best at working leather, and nearly 200 years later, that patient, old-fashioned attitude is still the thing everything else grew out of. The bag that turned it into a household name showed up almost by chance. In 1984, the boss of Hermès, a man named Jean-Louis Dumas, ended up sitting next to an actress called Jane Birkin on a flight from Paris to London. She was wrestling with a bag stuffed full of her stuff, moaning that she couldn't find a handbag that looked good and was actually big enough for life as a young mom. So Dumas sketched one out for her right there on the plane, and Hermès turned it into a real product with her name on it. That's the Birkin, and it grew into the most wanted handbag in the world. It wasn't even the first time Hermès had done this. Years earlier, the company had a bag that got tied forever to another famous woman, the actress turned Princess Grace Kelly, after she was photographed using it to hide from the cameras. Hermès ended up naming that bag the Kelly, and it became a status symbol all on its own. So by the time the Birkin came along, the company already knew something powerful, that a bag linked to the right person and kept just out of reach could become something people chased for the rest of their lives. The reason these bags earned their name, though, comes down to how they're made. Every single Birkin is stitched by hand, start to finish, by one worker in France, and a single bag takes somewhere around 15 to 20 hours of skilled work, more for the fancy versions. And these workers aren't hired off the street either. Hermès trains them for years before they're trusted to make a bag on their own. And the company even controls its own supply of top-quality leather, so it isn't stuck relying on outside suppliers. When you're paying that kind of money, part of what you're paying for really is there in the leather, and that matters a lot for reasons we'll get to. Now, actually getting your hands on one is a whole thing. You usually can't stroll in and grab a Birkin off a shelf because they're rarely just sitting out waiting for you. In a lot of stores, you first have to become a regular, buying other Hermès items over time, getting known and liked by the staff before they'll even offer you the bag you actually walked in for. People half-jokingly call it the Hermès game, and it drives them up the wall. But every hoop makes finally getting the bag feel less like a normal purchase and more like being let through a door most people never get to. Why does that actually work on us, though? Because it pokes at something wired deep in how people think. We want things more when they're hard to get. When something feels rare, part of your brain just assumes it must be worth more. And when you've had to wait and work for a thing, you end up loving it far more than if it had been handed to you on day one. There's a real buzz in owning something that most people, including plenty of seriously rich people, simply can't have. A Birkin says you made it past the rope, and for a lot of buyers, that feeling is worth more than the leather itself. You can see how strong all this is by what happens to the bags after people buy them. Normally, the second you walk out of a shop with something, it's worth less than what you paid. A Birkin often does the opposite. Buyers will happily pay well over the shop price to grab one secondhand and skip all the waiting. So a bag that costs you around $12,000 in the store can go for double that or more used, and the rarest ones have sold for hundreds of thousands. In 2025, the original bag Hermès made for Jane Birkin herself sold at auction for around $10 million, the most anyone has ever paid for a handbag. And there's even a study showing that over the years, normal Birkins held their value better than the stock market. When your product goes up in price after someone buys it, you've made something that acts more like an investment than an accessory. Naturally, loads of other luxury brands watched all this and tried to pull the same move. Most of them fell flat, and it's worth being clear about why. The Hermès trick only works because people believe the bag deserves it, and that belief was built up over almost 200 years of real craftsmanship. So when a Birkin is tough to get, it feels fair instead of annoying, because the bags really are made slowly by hand, and there really is a limit to how many one workshop can turn out. When some newer brand suddenly acts like its products are rare treasures, people see straight through it, and it just comes across as a cheap gimmick. You can copy the tactic overnight. You can't copy 200 years of people trusting your name. That discipline nearly got taken away from Hermès though, and it's worth knowing how close it came. In 2010, the giant luxury group LVMH, the company behind Louis Vuitton, secretly built up a big stake in Hermès and looked ready to swallow it whole. This was exactly the kind of owner that might have pushed Hermès to make more bags, grow faster, and cash in on the name. The family that runs Hermès fought back hard, teaming up to lock away their shares so no outsider could grab control, and after a long fight, LVMH was forced to back off and sell down its stake. Hermès staying independent and family-run is a huge part of why it never gave in to the pressure to flood the market. The people in charge think in decades, not in months, and here's where it all turns into serious money. Because Hermès never floods the market, it gets to keep its prices sky high and skip the thing nearly every other shop leans on, which is cutting prices in a sale. Hermès basically never discounts, for the simple reason that it's never stuck with a pile of unsold bags it's sweating to get rid of. Its profits are some of the fattest in the whole luxury business, keeping more than 40 cents of every dollar as profit and pulling in over $4 billion a year. And while bigger rivals like LVMH and Kering have hit slumps and falling sales lately, Hermès has just kept rolling along calm and growing. Doing less, it turns out, made it steadier and more profitable than the giants chasing ever bigger numbers. Hermès didn't win by talking people into buying. It won by making them wait and making them feel lucky when they were finally allowed to pay. It took the whole idea of what a shop is supposed to do and flipped it, and built billions of dollars on the belief that the harder something is to get, the more you'll want it. If Hermès woke up tomorrow and made enough Birkins for everyone who wanted one, would it get instantly bigger and richer, or would all those extra bags wreck the one thing that made them special and show that the whole empire was really built on nothing but a well-earned no?